Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What is up, guys? What's up? What's up? What's up? My name is Jeremy, founder of J&J Erotic Vibes. Super excited to be here today with another episode of Erotic Therapy. I am going to be joined shortly by my guest, Coach Kima. Not guest, but co-host. Let me get that corrected. Co-host, Coach Kima. And I'm super excited to be bringing back some erotic therapy vibes with you all. We're going to just be cool and relaxing, enjoying this Wednesday through this midday of the week. And I'm super excited to have a few lives going on today. I have one tonight at 7 p.m. with Black Luxury. I'm super excited to talk to them, but definitely is super excited to be here today with you all and just share with you all this dope vibe and kind of curate this moment with you all and have a great conversation with you all. And I'm super excited how the second quarter has started, and I'm thrilled about all the opportunities that are coming our way. And I think it's only the beginning of what is to come. And so super excited to be able to have you all today here. We're going to discuss a erotic tip for all you singles out there, all you that are in relationships, and those of you all that are looking to just gain some healthy advice from myself or Coach Kima. And we're super excited to be able to give you all this opportunity every week. And some great things are stemming from this. We drop show notes every like Friday, and I'm going to start dropping some dope blogs for you all as well. So I'm super excited to be able to bring back some dope vibes for you all to be able to just be a part of this unique experience as we curate it over time. So watching the replay, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. And I just want to say thank you for your support. Yes, yes. Hello. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. How's everything going on your end?
Everything is going well. Nice, pretty day outside. Can't complain at all.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Well, I definitely want to. See the little fingers in the back. I want to acknowledge her. How you doing? And I definitely wanted to. I definitely wanted to just, be able to just have a nice, calm conversation with you this week. First of all, I want to start by asking you, how's your week, man?
It's been good. It's been good. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. It's working on through. These weeks be flying. We
Yep.
in the middle of April already.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And I think one of the things that I always look forward to on these days is just kind of having a moment of reflection, but also just thinking about putting myself in a better headspace to finish the week strong. I think being able to utilize and leverage this platform to be able to have healthy conversations is going to enable me to grow to be not only a better person, but a better man. So definitely looking forward to the conversation that we're going to have today. So I definitely want you to introduce yourself, and then I want you to get into the erotic tip that you have for us this week.
So, hi, I am Coach Kima. I am a sexual intimacy coach. I do help women and couples create healthy relationships and sexual fulfillment. By sexual fulfillment and healthy relationships, I mean if we are vibing emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, we're gonna have great, wonderful sex, and that is the whole thing. You cannot have one without the other. And it's important for relationships to thrive in every area. It's important for everyone in the relationship to be happy in every area. And that is my goal, to have multiple relationships where it's just like we are all thriving and working as a team, as a full pack.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And I think the more that these conversations go on, the more that I'm learning about just, I would say, how I need to communicate, why I need to communicate that way, and when I need to communicate that way. I definitely am learning more about myself each week. And so I definitely want to be able to just voice some of those, I would say, lessons that I'm learning and how I can apply them. So for the people that are watching us today, what is something that you would say that is allowed you to be able to kind of be comfortable in your journey sexually as a woman?
Knowing who I am.
Got you.
Knowing who I am, that there is nothing wrong with anything that I desire. If I have a desire for it, 9 times out of 10 is because it's something that I am meant to have. So being confident in the person that I am and knowing who I am has brought me a long way. And that was part of my journey in obtaining my own sexual freedom, was actually being my authentic self, being able to be confident enough to say, no, I deserve this, I desire this, I want this, and I'm not settling if I can't have this. If you don't understand my desires, then maybe we're not supposed to work together, or maybe we're not supposed to be together, different things like that. So definitely walking in my authenticity and knowing exactly who I am.
I love that. Being able to be authentic with yourself definitely is something that's very important to me. Definitely realizing that, just taking it a day at a time, and knowing that me personally, being able to yearn and I would say seek companionship is starting to look in a different way. I need to be able to develop friendships that enable me to just be able to build and love and take care of myself, while being able to just enjoy the company of someone that I can be able to just gain positivity from, and not be able to seek anything else outside of that. So being able to live in your authentic self, how has that enabled you to build the brand that you have today, and to be the woman you are, in terms of allowing yourself that growth that's unlimited, I feel like, for you?
Because it don't matter to me what others think. So for a long time in my life, I wanted to live up to this good girl, or live up to the church girl, or live up to what my family told me I couldn't be anyway. Okay, I'm going to prove them wrong. So for a long time, I was trying to live up to these standards that I hadn't set for myself. It was just other people set them for me, and I'm trying to live up to them because I want to be approved or prove myself in everybody else's eyes. So once I started realizing that even if I obtain their goals, I would still be miserable in my own life, because those are not the things that I desire. Those are not the things that I want. That's when walking in my authenticity, it helps me a whole lot, because it don't matter what you think. It don't matter how you feel. I used to go to church 7 days a week almost, but I don't have to live up to what religion or what someone else's belief or someone else's church told me I should or should not be. I don't have to live up to anybody's expectation of what a wife should be, because one thing that I have learned in walking in my authentic self is it's room for everybody. And your person is going to want you for you, not for who you're trying to live up to be. So it gives freedom. I don't have to walk on eggshells when it comes to the things I may say, the things I may do, the way I may portray myself. I don't have to do any of that. I can be a freak and keep all of my clothes on. I can be a freak and take all of my clothes off. It just depends on what I want, and I am confident enough to walk in everything I want. So today, if I want to be full blown naked and do whatever I want to do, that's my decision. It's no one else's decision, and if someone else don't like it, remove yourself from my energy. So.
I appreciate that perspective. Definitely means a lot. I think starting this brand has enabled me to open up my eyes and see the journey that I'm on, and realizing that it's going to be a process that I have to embrace. I can't skip steps. I can't look to take shortcuts, and I can't be able to worry about what others may think. And so, as I'm able to write these erotic tales, or I'm able to explore these fantasies and desires, you mentioned that they can look different ways for yourself, and you have to be able to explore and discover that to be able to know yourself. I love that too. And I really want you to touch on how that journey of exploration or discovery can enable you to be someone that is not only confident but courageous to be able to attract the right energy in your partner or spouse.
So one thing is understanding that your process is not going to look like anybody else's. A lot of times people begin this process, especially this sexual healing or sexual freedom process, and their whole goal is to, I want to learn how to do this for my partner, or I want to learn how to do this so I can catch a man. I want to learn how to do this so I can please my woman. But the thing is, you have to know things for yourself. So no matter who you're with, they can't take your skills away from you. And obtaining the authenticity for your sexual freedom, it's gonna be a process, because one day it may look like this to you, and the next day it might be like, nah, you know what, I don't even enjoy that anymore, or I don't feel the need to show up in that way anymore. So you have to make sure that you're trusting your process, that you're gonna change your mind. Like some days you may wake up and be like, today is a good day to do this, this, and this, but the next day it might be like, I ain't even into that today. So it's trusting yourself, trusting your gut, and trusting your intuition to know that this is just me and I'm feeling my way through this thing. I'm trying to figure out what I like. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm trying to figure out the things that I generally enjoy in this season of my life. Because a lot of times people forget that as we grow, as we age, things are going to change. So you're not going to be the same 21-year-old or 25-year-old, 30-year-old, 35-year-old. You might get 50 and have the best sex of your life, because now you're more older, you're more seasoned, you're more experienced, you're woman enough to say, this ain't working for me. You're going to have to try this a different way. And you have to trust that process. A lot of people don't want to trust that process. They just want an overnight fix. Nothing is overnight. Nothing is overnight. So including building a healthy relationship, including finding yourself sexually, including gaining the confidence. You can get those tools, but if you never actually take the time to implement those things into your life, it's still not going to matter. I can tell you how to turn your man inside out. If you don't implement those tools, if you don't find your own way to finesse that thing, it's still not going to matter.
I appreciate that. Something that you said that really stood out to me is that being able to actually just realize that you can find yourself at any point in your life, and being able to actually uh, articulate that, act, think, and speak in that way, to embrace that, that can look different. And so when someone is able to just know that their process is going to take, there's no limit or of time of how long it's going to take, how can they be, I would say, satisfied and comfortable in that space of uncomfortability, knowing that it might, you might not know how long it's going to take to attract that right partner, but how can they be able to live in that space and be able to know that they're okay being by themselves, and they won't settle for just any man or woman. They want the best version of that partner to build a legacy. What would you tell them if they're out there right now and they're saying, my time
One
is ticking?
is to embrace every season. So you have to embrace every single season that you are in. I don't care if you're with someone, if you're dating someone, if you're in a relationship, if you're newly single again, you have to embrace all of those seasons, because they are all beneficial in the lessons that you're going to live. I think it was Tyler Perry when he did the play, and he was talking about guys can see the whole GPS. So he know if you get to your perfect man before you're ready, you're going to damage this man. So if you don't have the confidence to maintain your perfect man, if you don't feel like you deserve your perfect man, if you don't feel like you are worthy of that perfect man, I don't care how perfect he is, you're going to self-sabotage it because you don't feel like you deserve it. So you have to embrace every single season that you're in, and you have to know your value. That's why I tell people, you have to get, when it comes to your sexual self, you have to get in touch with every other area. So that's emotional, that's mental, that's spiritual, that's physical. You have to get in touch with all of those areas, because if you can't feel your emotions, you can't feel those sensations. If you are not comfortable touching yourself, 9 times out of 10, you're not all the way comfortable with someone else touching you. So all of those things go hand in hand, and people want to jump straight to one thing. You can't do that. You got to work your way through this thing. It's like school. You can't just go to school and just immediately start 12th grade. You got to go to kindergarten, then you got to go to middle school, then you got to go to tip. Like, you have to follow the steps. You have to follow the process. And if you don't, you're always going to end up going through the same thing that you always went through and wondering, like, why am I here? Because you refuse to follow the process. You refuse to learn the lessons. You're doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. You can't do that. You have to know your worth. You have to know your value. You have to know that, like, you have to know you deserve all of the things that you are asking for. Just like if someone came to me right now and said, here go $1,000,000. If I don't feel like I deserve that $1,000,000, I will give it back. And that could have been God's blessing to change my whole life. But all because I'm like, no, 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 I don't deserve that. You know how they say in the Bible, like, the last will be first and the first will be, I shouldn't inherit all of that on this here earth. If I don't feel like I deserve it, I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to give it back. I'm going to wash away my blessing because I don't feel like I deserve it. So that's why you have to embrace everything so that you know when you get to your partner, it's like, no, I deserve this. When you get to someone who won't give you what you want, you'll be like, nah, I'm not settling for this because I know what I want. I know what I desire, and I know I can reciprocate those things. So therefore, no, I want what I want. So that is the whole thing. You got to embrace every season. And it's crazy because we're not taught that. We're not taught that as women or as men to embrace every season. We're not taught to go through our life lessons. We're not taught to look at the season we're in and say, hey, what am I supposed to be learning now? We're not taught to look at our repeated patterns and say, hey, why does this keep happening? Why are all of my relationships failing? Why am I doing this, this, and this? I'm the common denominator. So if all of my relationships are failing, let me look at me. Let me see what I can do different. Let me see what red flags I am not paying attention to. Let me see what am I doing wrong so I can fix me. I can be accountable for myself, and that way I can move forward.
Definitely appreciate that. I definitely think that's good advice. I think sometimes, even as I look at some of the things that I'm doing on a daily basis, I think that just being able to, first of all, surround myself with the right people, first to be able to digest and take in that right energy from others is key. Number two, being able to know my worth and my value, to be able to actually pour into myself. I think there's something that I've always heard where you have to be, I believe, selfish to be selfless. I think a lot of times we want to pour into others without pouring into ourselves, and that's how we get drained fast, and that's how that can trickle over into even the erotic adventures that I would say that I'm, embarking on in terms of just writing it and from that erotic, that sense. But definitely being able to just actually know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and why I'm doing it. That gives me that intent and that purpose that reflects what season I'm in and actually what actions I'm taking to be able to get the results I want and that I desire. I think is very important. And a lot of people aren't really realizing that they need to be selfish in this season, because in 2023, like, I'm realizing that a lot of people are devaluating what I do and what I bring to the table. So sometimes you just have to be able to not only just like break away from that type of energy, but you have to be able to just know your value and know your worth, and then be able to just work in silence and let your results speak for themselves. And I think that has been able to correlate to just the sexual energy that I bring as well, because there's times in that I really don't feel as if like I'm in that mental space to give a physical or sexual performance. If I haven't had sex since, I would say, September, and it just really hasn't been there for me personally, because it's so many things that I would say that are really kind of taken away from my energy to give to someone, or even that I feel like sometimes like I'm not being heard. And I would say that there's sometimes when you can listen. Someone said to me, you can listen to hear, or you can listen to respond, and I get that, and I'm definitely understanding of that. But I think sometimes, and like, when you're listening to someone, you can hear them. But if you don't if you're not listening to attempt to understand, and you feel like your perspective is better, or your perspective is something that they can get better results with, and you kind of just like toss their perspective to the side, that is degrading in some way, shape, or form too. So as I begin to go on this journey, as you mentioned, and to begin to embrace the process, I begin to learn how I need to put the physical and the sexual on the shelf, because there's a difference between those two. Rationalize and understand my emotional, mental, and spiritual process, and understand that, as flawed as I am, building and embracing this process and living in my truth allows and enables me to know who I am and be confident in who I am, and then just know my value and worth too. Because I think, like I said, it's so essential now, especially moving forward, that I just put myself around the right people that really acknowledge the value that I bring to the table, because I can't continue to give that energy out. And that therapy that we bring every week in these conversations, as I, hear you speak, and then I'm able to kind of respond from my personal experience and add tidbits of gems. That's how I'm able to, like, okay, take away what gems that were dropped in this conversation, but be able to apply them as I finish the week stronger. So I'm definitely, appreciative of the conversations we have. But I definitely want people to know that when they're watching this, they really need to, just like realize that, like, being selfish isn't, there's nothing wrong with that. Putting I first is nothing wrong with that, because you have to be able to pour into yourself before you pour into others. And no matter what other people think, they're going to actually, say things that you might not agree with, or you might not actually understand. But maybe just take a moment to attempt to understand them, and eat the meat and spit out the bones, but just be able to realize that at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you.
Yeah, and I want to touch on two things you said. A lot of times people listen like in a defense. Like, you can't listen like that. You have to listen to be curious to understand. Like, I really want to know why you feel that way. I really want to understand why you feel that way, and I really want to understand how we can prevent this from happening again. Whenever you are in a relationship, and no matter what you're talking about, whether you're talking about your emotional, your physical, your mental, your sexual life, listen out of curiosity of how can I be of service to this person. And the way that single people can start doing that is being of service to yourself. Like you said, a lot of times we put ourselves on the backbone, but we're taught that, like, as we grow up, we are taught that mommy and daddy is supposed to be in service to the kids. Whatever is left over is what a lot of times we were taught they get. But that's not true, because if mommy and daddy is not operating at their fullest potential, then those kids are going to lag. Then those kids are not going to have the things that they actually need. So you do have to be selfish. You do have to make sure that you are pouring into yourself. That if I ask, I don't care if you got 4, 5, or 8, or 10 kids. If I ask you what your favorite food is, you should know it. It should not be what their favorite food is. You should not be like, well, it used to be this, but I ain't ate that in a long time. You should be able to pour into yourself enough to know the things you like, the things that you actually desire, the places you like to go as an adult, not just as a mom or not just as a wife, the things that you like to do as a person, not just as a husband or not just as a father. You have to make sure that you are definitely pouring into yourself, and you have to make sure that you know your value, that you are making sure that you are showing people this is my value, that you're not just out here giving anybody access to you, that you're not allowing anything to happen, that you're not allowing anybody to speak to you in any kind of way, even when it comes down to your kids. The example that you set for them when it comes to yourself, how you treat yourself, if your kids see that every time they call you, you come running, no matter what you're doing, they're going to keep on toying with you like that. But if you set a boundary like, okay, mommy is coming in 20 minutes, but you have to give me 20 minutes because mommy needs to do this, this, and this for herself. That is a boundary that they know, oh, when mommy doing this, we can't mess with her because she has to have time for herself. Or even when it comes down to your husband, I understand you need me to do this, but I need some me time today. I need to separate myself, go get my hair done, go take a walk, just sit and have a glass of wine. I need to do something. I always pour into myself like this, and this is how I stay afloat. when you're single, that's why you have to practice those things then, because a lot of times we go into relationships and we don't have any routines for ourselves. So we start the routines based on a relationship. Okay, I'm gonna start taking care of myself. I'm gonna start keeping my hair done now. I'm gonna start keeping my nails done because I'm dating. But then once the relationship gets serious, you kind of fall out of those characteristics because that was never you in the first place. But if you always maintain a routine, if you always maintain the things for yourself, if you know that every night I read for 30 minutes, don't let anybody take that away from you. You have to set certain standards and certain boundaries for yourself. So that is super important in relationships, in business partnerships, in friendships, whatever. Certain boundaries you have to set. Certain you can't allow people to feel like they have all out access to you. That's why certain times I don't respond to text messages. I can read it and not say anything. Why? Because nobody can tell me when I am or am not in the mental space to actually respond to them. So you have to make sure that you are teaching people those things.
That's
And that's for any type of relationship.
yeah, and I think as I can continue to evolve this brand, and as I continue to, I would say, rebrand it and like make changes, I'm starting to learn the root of erotic. What that means to me is very different. It's not sexual. I would say it's more so mental, because everything that goes around when it comes to mental, emotional, spiritual, professional, social, and physical starts with the mental, and it's been a mental game for me. And I think being able to, you mentioned something, being able to learn about, whether it's the children, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your job, being able to learn, but then listen and leverage for me or two, other key components of how I can be able to understand, be curious, as you said, and then also be willing to take in the knowledge and absorb the knowledge and be able to apply what others are saying, because we all are not perfect. We all have to be willing to learn from others. We all have to be able to develop routines, as you said, to be able to actually create habits that allow us to achieve the desires and the results of that we want. So as I continue to write these erotic stories and these different types of tales, and being able to explore these different scripts with these adult content creators, I'm learning how to be able to actually just open up my mind as a single man, to be able to just let my mental be free. And you, for those of you all that don't know, and Coach Kima can go more into it, she's went about this unique journey of celibacy in her own definition and in her own way, and that has allowed, I believe, it to rub off on me in terms of me just looking and thinking about it, and just like, okay, this is an energy transaction, and how I talk about it, how I write about it, and how I have these conversations about it in this way is enabling me to be able to just think about sex in a different way. Like if I'm writing about it this way, if I'm speaking about it this way, then when I act on it, I'm going to be in that different headspace to actually be able to not only give my whole self to that person, but also be able to just like perform at my highest peak, because I don't think no one got the best version of me yet. And that you're right, like that 50-year-old version of you could be the best wave of sex that you've ever had. So I can only imagine at 33, yes, I'm 33, when 35 comes, oh, it's going to, I can feel it. So I mean, I definitely believe that just having the opportunity to tap into the mental and emotional side of me, that black men, I feel like we don't get an opportunity to do before we interact in that physical and sexual. I think if we are able to take the time to be able to know the best version of ourselves, our woman is going to be blessed beyond belief, because we're going to be able to pour into her being and her soul in that moment of love, or fucking, or whatever you want to call it. I like to call it fucking, but whatever, that's going to be like pure bliss. And so I'm realizing that like that yearning to have that energy transaction is no longer needed, because the energy transaction within me is still brewing, whether it's the relationship with God, with family, with myself. And so I'm definitely learning and becoming better, and this erotic therapy is what I need. I don't know about y'all. This is what I need every week.
Put your headphones back on.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you okay? She had on headphones. I don't know why she took them off. Put them back on. Thank you. But yeah, but no, definitely it's a very mental thing. I feel like if people were in touch with the sexual side, like the mental, it would not be as much cheating. People wouldn't feel like, oh, I can be in love with multiple people, because once you get it in your head, like sex starts up here. You're not reaching your fullest potential if you're not allowing it to start up here. If you're not allowing people, if you're not allowing your partner to fully know you. That's another thing. If you are still shielding your partner from things, if you are still hiding your desires, if you are still hiding your authentic self, you are robbing your partner of ever knowing you truly. You are robbing yourself of pleasure, of connection, of intimacy that you could desperately have, but because you're trying to block everything, you're never going to get to that point. So once people start actually going into their mind, actually getting to know themselves, a lot of people don't want to face themselves, so that's why they try to put it into everybody else. And that is another reason why, like, I went, it's easy for me to be celibate, because once I started doing my healing journey and I did all of my soul tie cleansing and all of that, once you realize the things that people drop off in you, the things that people give to you by that energy connection, you be like, oh no, I don't want that. You got people who hate their baby mama, hate their baby daddy, but you're gonna allow them to sleep with you. If how do you become closer with your partner when you're not close to yourself? You're gonna have to get close to yourself first. You're gonna have to get close to yourself first. You're gonna have to figure out what obstacle is in your way that is preventing you from actually being close to yourself. What is it? Trauma? Is it you are afraid to face yourself? Is it that someone told you you were something that you did not, that you know you were not? Are you trying to live up to other people's examples? Like I said before, like when I first started building my confidence, I had to go back, all the way back to my 6-year-old self. And I remember where my confidence was shattered. I remember all of that. I remember the conversation with my family. I remember all of that. Separate from the relationship. Nope, you can do it now. That's personal, but you can do it inside the relationship. That can be something that connects you and your partner. Listen, I understand that we are not as close as we should be, and I want us to be closer. So I'm going to go on this journey to get to know myself, and I want to bring you along. So that would be something that you can actually bring your partner in, so they can see you go through that process. Because if you try to separate, if you really want to be with them and you try to separate and go back, now they got to get to know a whole new person. But if you go on this journey with them, they may can actually help you through it, as well as get to know you better, as well as get to know themselves better.
Yeah, not definitely. I love that advice. I think recently I've acknowledged that as a hopeless romantic and a big teddy bear, I will admit that like I go 1,000% into someone that I find interesting and enough to be able to court, date, or talk to. And I've been able to acknowledge how I can take steps back to be able to, first of all, start as friends and be able to realize that it is a journey that we're going on to be able to actually learn each other and know each other and actually be able to just spend time with each other. And so I think now I'm being able to see that process for, what it is in terms of as it defines how we are compatible in each other's space, and not just like thinking about the future, living in the moment, being present in that moment, and knowing that that confidence, that courage, that comfortability to be able to be present with your spouse or with your partner starts with you pouring into yourself.
Right.
How are you actually building, I would say, that that love, that care, that mental freedom as well, because a lot of times we're shackled by the thoughts that confine us to what we believe we can achieve by what others project on us. And so
But
as someone,
you have to be careful with that, because a lot of times we go into relationships and we mesh with our partner. We don't even know who we are anymore. And a lot of times the reason why you cannot maintain your individuality is because you never knew who you was in the first place. You're clinging to somebody else and the things that they like and the things that they desire. You have to be confident enough in that relationship to know that I can be me because they were attracted to me. I don't have to mesh into what they like. I don't have to do the things that they like. They liked it me from me in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm confident enough to know that I am valuable enough that regardless of what I do, this person is here with me for me. Not for me liking the things that they like. Not for me even pouring into them. They just like me for me, because when you think about it, when you meet somebody, you don't know what they're going to give you. A lot of times you do get to know people and you say, oh, well, they benefit me in this way, they benefit me in that way, they pour into me this way. But a lot of times you don't know offhand, so you have to actually like a person for them at first, like before you know any type of value that they bring to you. And you have to be confident enough in yourself to know that if they liked me for jump, they're going to keep liking it. I did see her ask the question, can you build confidence in a relationship? Yes. Yes. Do you think you should engage in activities your partners like? No. No. And the reason why I say that is because I was studying one night and the Lord dealt with me on that terminology. What one won't do, another will. And he was like, it is so toxic if you think about it. If you tell your spouse what one won't do, another will, that means they can't have any personal boundaries, because what you don't do, another one will. And you're constantly having them in the fear of abandonment mode, because what you don't do, another one will. It's toxic. So if you know that, no, I don't like this, this is not something that I want to do, you have to stand firm in your boundaries and your standards. I don't want to do this. Now, if it's something you're curious about, that's something different. But if it's something that you know, like, no, this is not something I want to do, stand up for yourself. Two separate lives. No.
That's what I just said. I just said that in the comments. I'm like, what?
No, can
We
we live
can't
two
live two
separate
separate
lives?
lives. Nah, like that's crazy. And I want to piggyback on what she said real briefly. Like, it's definitely, I would find it from a male perspective definitely hard to embrace my woman's lifestyle, her perspective, and her outlook on life if she doesn't understand where I'm coming from as a man. And if she doesn't understand how I am working effortlessly to be able to provide for her, the children that we might have, the future that we might have, and the legacy we are building. So if we don't come to the crossroads and we don't bridge the gap between our two perspectives to be able to see how, like Coach Kima said, we can mesh together. Before we mesh together, we have two different perspectives that are meshing together. So I would never ever compromise my integrity for her beliefs. We have to come to the table and say, okay, that's what you believe, this is what I believe, this is how we can be able to provide a better future for not only for ourselves but for the children that we intend to have, the future we intend to build, and the legacy we intend to leave behind. So that's my perspective on it. And I love the fact that, like, this is why I want a male female dynamic in any of the podcasts that I'm on, because, or the just, I'm speaking it to existence. There's going to be a podcast one day. Like, I would say, like, third quarter, we're rolling out a podcast. I definitely want to get on Patreon with Coach Kima and have this as a podcast or any type of platform. I want to get to a portfolio of at least 50 lives on Instagram before going over to a podcast. I think there's a unique yet overlooked way of building a community on Instagram when it comes to, like, transitioning to a podcast from Instagram lives. And so I love that fact that I'm old school with a little bit of new. So I love that too. But I definitely want you to answer
Hold
that
on.
question.
Before you go, hopefully she's still on here.
Yes, she
Reach
is.
out to me, because I believe you really, really need a session, because the only reason why you are even attempting to stay in that relationship is because of your confidence. It's because you don't feel like you're valuable enough to have a whole man, or you don't feel like you are valuable enough to just be like, no, even if I don't do this, he's still gonna stay here. So definitely reach out to me if you really want to tackle those self-confidence issues, because once you know your true value, you're not even going to think about, like, that'll be a question that you won't even ask, like separate lives. No, if you don't want all of me, you don't want none of me. If I'm not good enough for you, then this is just not what you want. So definitely reach out to me if you're still here, and we
It's
can set up a session.
Acacia. Her name is Acacia. She
Okay.
has a podcast called Sundays.
Okay.
She's a phenomenal
Oh,
woman.
I watched her
Yeah,
podcast. I
yeah.
did.
She does IG lives here too, and I'm definitely excited for her. I definitely want to know, like, I'm excited for this erotic therapy series. I think it definitely can go into webinars, into a podcast, into different things, and I'm definitely excited to see the interactions and engagement from here, others here. I definitely have show notes that I'm starting to curate and write, and that'll turn into blogs, and I'm super excited about what is birthing in terms of us embracing this process. So thank you all for the engagement that you give us every Wednesday. I definitely want to know from you all what you all want next. I think, Coach Kima, I want to know your feedback, but in my head, I think we should continue with the lives throughout April. I would love to do one webinar in May, and I would love to roll out a podcast come third quarter. I definitely believe that there's some super dope things that we could curate together, that we can come to the table and bring the online space and our community some dope value. So let me know what you think, could be birthed from this series.
Yeah, I know numerous things could be birthed from it. I do want to keep on moving forward with the lives and going through with the lives and getting the feedback from that. At least get a bunch of people on the lives and different things like that. Maybe we can start setting up times where people will actually be able, like, we can give them times to pick where they will be able to actually join in so that they can ask more questions and different things like that. Even before we start doing webinars and different things like that, because I do want to reach a broad audience. So being able to actually speak to the people and say, what would you like? What time is good for you, and different things like that, I think would be very beneficial, especially to the growth of it. Everything takes time. And
Exactly.
everything, like I said, everything
Exactly.
has a process. So definitely trusting the process to continue to move forward and do what we're doing, to make sure this is working, to make sure this is sticking before we go ahead and jump
Yeah,
forward, before we
and
jump and
that's
move forward.
and I like that, because I think you have to crawl before you walk. You have to
Yeah.
walk before you run. And I'm loving the progress of what's going on, because I ain't gonna even hold you. There's some days where, like, I don't even care about the engagement. I'm getting fed, because there's Monday and Tuesday where, like, I would say that, like, as a 33-year-old man, I'm definitely getting more soft in terms of, like, actually having someone in terms of just friendship and companionship to share, like, the small wins with, just to be able to share small wins with at the end of the day. And I think that's starting to turn my eye towards, okay, like a woman that I can be able to talk to in that nature. And I think I need to be able to realize that there's boundaries to that, and there's, like, I would say, limitations to be able to know that that woman I'm, like, just talking to is a friend, and to be able to actually know that we're just there to support each other, nothing more, nothing less. And that platonic nature is what allows me to feed my mental, instead of actually looking for something further than what it is and expecting something further than what it is, because it's only that platonic nature.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's very good. Friendships and building all of that first is definitely good. Before you do anything, and making sure that you can be beneficial and pour into each other and hold each other up, because a lot of times people can't. A lot of times people don't have the capacity to hold you. And that's with anybody. Like, a lot of times people do not have the full capacity to hold you, and you're wondering why things are not working out. You're wondering why things are rough. But it's because they don't have the full capacity to actually hold you. Like, they're not supposed to be there. A lot of times we hold on to people, places, and things that we don't need any longer.
Definitely. And I appreciate that. I definitely want to say thank you for your time today. I definitely don't want to hold you too long. We at the 58-minute mark. I definitely know we started a little bit later today, guys, and I definitely want to say thank you all for, being able to join us. We're here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think next week what I would love to do is add a segment where you all request to join the live, with us, and you all can ask questions live. So Acacia, I want you to invite like your friends next time. Anyone else that's watching this replay right now, I want you to drop in the comments what topics you want us to discuss. And Coach Kima is going to drop that erotic tip every week. And we're just going to come here and have an authentic conversation. I'm super excited about what we're building and the journey that we're on, taking it a day at a time, a week at a time, a month at a time, and just being able to create unique conversations around erotic therapy, but also pleasure, romance, and just being able to have that opportunity to be intimate with yourself and with your partner. So, what's some last words that you have for us, Coach Kima?
Um, be true to yourself. No matter what wins, what losses, what you may gain from it, be true to yourself. You will always get further being true to yourself because it is nothing to be of service to everybody else or get everyone else's approval and you still be miserable on the inside. That's not going to work. A lot of people are in relationships and they're miserable on the inside. A lot of people are by themselves and they are miserable on the inside because they are trying to live up to other people's expectations. So learn to live up to your own expectations. Learn to live up to your own standards. Learn to have your own boundaries because at the end of the day, the only person that matters is the person in the mirror. If you cannot look in the mirror and be happy with what you see, you need to reevaluate your life.
Love that. I love that. I love that. And that's a personal note for me to take in too as well, because I definitely resonated with that. I felt like you were talking to me, and I know you were. And I think that that's something that I've realized as well, is that so many times we hear people talking and they think they're not talking to us, but like just open your mind up, open your eyes up, open your ears up, and hear what others have to say, because there is a zone of genius and a glimpse of genius in everybody's message. You just have to be willing enough to open up your mind and just take out what they're saying and leverage it to be able to apply it in life. So I appreciate that.
More, you're welcome.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I want you to have a phenomenal Wednesday. I want you to enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. It's nice and sunny outside. Definitely, for those of you all watching, please enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Have a safe and blessed day. I want you all to, spend some time with family, love on yourself, take care of yourself, and most importantly, come back next Wednesday for Erotic Therapy Vibes with me, myself, Jeremy, and Coach Kima, and I'm super excited to see you all next week. Coach Kima, you got anything else to say?
That's it. Thank you guys for joining. Make sure you drop any questions that you need answered for the next erotic therapy. Make sure y'all are using those erotic tips as well. Send me a DM and let me know how they go. Whether it worked out for you, whether it didn't, whether you were scared, just let me know. But I definitely appreciate you guys joining. I appreciate the replay. If you watch the replay, hashtag replay in the comments. Y'all have a great day.
Yes, yes.
All right.